Introduction. The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka is one of the strangest and most unsettling works ever written. At first glance, its premise seems simple. An ordinary man wakes up profoundly changed. But the implications of that change ripple outward in bizarre, disturbing, and deeply philosophical ways. Kafka transforms a surreal event into an exploration of identity, isolation, family obligation, and the absurd nature of modern existence. What makes the metamorphosis endure is not shock, but quiet unease. Kafka presents the absurd as routine and the impossible as mundane. There is no explanation, no dramatic buildup, and no resolution in the traditional sense. Instead, readers are forced to sit with discomfort, ambiguity, and emotional detachment. In this video, we explore 20 absurd facts you didn't know about this strange literary masterpiece, facts that reveal why the Metamorphosis continues to disturb, confuse, and fascinate readers more than a century later. Let's go. Fact 20. No clear explanation. One of the most absurd aspects of the Metamorphosis is that Kafka never explains why Gregor's transformation occurs. There is no cause, no scientific rationale, and no supernatural reasoning offered. The story opens in the middle of the impossible and simply moves forward as if nothing unusual has happened. This deliberate absence of explanation defies narrative convention and forces readers to accept absurdity as a fact of existence. Kafka's choice makes the event more unsettling rather than less. By refusing to justify the transformation, the focus shifts away from what happened to how people react. The absurdity lies in how quickly everyone adapts, not with curiosity, but inconvenience. The lack of explanation mirrors real-life crises that arrive without warning or logic, making the story feel strangely realistic despite its surreal premise. Fact 19. Transformation. Treated casually. Gregor's reaction to his condition is remarkably subdued. Instead of panic or disbelief, his primary concern is missing work. This absurd prioritization reflects Kafka's critique of modern labor culture, where personal suffering is secondary to productivity. Gregor worries more about his employer's reaction than his own identity. The weirdness intensifies as the family also treats the situation as a logistical problem rather than an existential shock. Meals, schedules, and responsibilities adjust quickly. Kafka presents absurdity not through chaos, but through calm acceptance, suggesting that modern life has conditioned people to suppress shock in favor of obligation. Fact 18. Family shame focus. Rather than fear or compassion, Gregor's family reacts with embarrassment. His existence becomes a source of shame that must be hidden from visitors. The absurdity lies in how reputation outweighs empathy, turning a personal crisis into a social inconvenience. Kafka exposes the fragility of familial bonds when usefulness disappears. Gregor's value was never emotional. It was economic. Once he can no longer provide, he becomes an unspoken burden. The family's behavior reflects an unsettling truth about conditional love. Fact 17. Identity without language. As Gregor loses his ability to communicate, his inner thoughts remain articulate and complex. This creates an absurd disconnect between internal identity and external perception. He understands everything, but cannot be understood. Kafka highlights how society defines humanity through communication and productivity. Gregor's thoughts prove he is still himself, yet his inability to express them strips him of dignity. The absurd tragedy lies in being fully conscious but completely unheard. Fact 16. Work above humanity. Gregor's employer sends a manager to his home immediately, more concerned with attendance than well-being. This intrusion into private life is treated as normal, reinforcing the absurd power of institutions over individuals. Kafka exaggerates workplace expectations to reveal their dehumanizing nature. Gregor's physical condition is irrelevant. Only performance matters. The story suggests that modern systems value output over existence, turning humans into replaceable functions. Fact 15. Room becomes prison. Gregor's bedroom transforms from a personal space into a confinement area. Furniture is removed to accommodate his condition, symbolically erasing his former identity. The absurdity lies in how space reflects status. As Gregor loses usefulness, his environment shrinks. Kafka uses physical space to mirror emotional and social isolation, making confinement feel both literal and psychological. Fact 14. Food preferences change. Gregor develops new tastes, rejecting fresh food in favor of scraps. This detail is presented without commentary, making the change feel strangely normal. Kafka uses this absurd shift to show how identity adapts under pressure. Gregor's preferences change not by choice, but by circumstance. It reflects how environments reshape individuals in quiet, unsettling ways. Fact 13. Sister's transformation. While Gregor deteriorates, his sister grows stronger, more independent, and more assertive. This reversal is one of the story's most ironic elements. The absurdity lies in how growth requires someone else's decline. Kafka suggests that progress within families or systems often comes at the expense of the vulnerable. Fact 12. Music still moves him. Gregor responds emotionally to music despite everything. This moment reveals that art still reaches him, challenging assumptions about his humanity. Kafka presents this as quietly absurd, proof that emotional depth survives even when society denies it. Music becomes a reminder of identity that no one else acknowledges. Fact 11. Visitors never told the family, hosts lodgers but hides Gregor completely. This secrecy turns him into a shameful secret rather than a family member. The absurdity lies in how deception becomes routine. Kafka critiques social appearances, showing how maintaining normalcy often requires denial of reality. Fact 10. No medical help. No doctor is ever called. The family accepts the situation without seeking understanding or assistance. This absence highlights the absurd isolation of the individual. Kafka presents a world where responsibility replaces compassion and adaptation replaces care. Fact 9. Violence without drama. Moments of physical harm occur without heightened language. Kafka's neutral tone makes the events more disturbing. The absurdity lies in emotional flatness. Suffering becomes routine, stripped of moral weight, reflecting bureaucratic indifference. Fact 8. Gregor still feels guilt. Despite everything, Gregor feels guilty for causing inconvenience. His sense of responsibility never fades. Kafka exposes how deeply obligation is internalized. The absurd tragedy is that even in isolation, Gregor prioritizes others over himself. Fact 7. Cleanliness obsession. The family focuses on cleaning and order rather than understanding. Gregor's presence disrupts routine, not morality. Kafka suggests that order often replaces empathy. The absurd emphasis on cleanliness reveals misplaced priorities. Fact 6. Time loses meaning. Days blur together without clear markers. Time becomes irrelevant inside Gregor's confinement. The absurdity reflects existential stagnation. Without purpose or recognition, time itself loses structure. Fact 5. Silence as punishment. Gregor is rarely spoken to. Silence becomes a form of exclusion. Kafka shows how neglect can be as damaging as cruelty. The absurdity lies in erasure through inattention. Fact 4. Death without mourning. Gregor's death is met with relief rather than grief. The family moves on quickly. Kafka presents this moment without sentimentality, making it disturbingly absurd. Value ends when usefulness ends. Fact 3. Freedom after loss. After Gregor's death, the family feels hopeful. Plans are made. Life resumes. The absurd irony is that liberation comes only after elimination. Kafka critiques progress built on quiet sacrifice. Fact 2. Gregor, never angry. Gregor never truly resents his family. He accepts rejection passively. This emotional restraint is absurd and tragic. Kafka portrays suffering without rebellion, challenging heroic narratives. Fact 1. Absurdity as reality. The greatest absurdity of the Metamorphosis is that nothing magical happens, only life continuing. Kafka suggests that the absurd is not extraordinary, but ordinary. The story endures because it reflects how society treats those who no longer fit. Closing remarks. The Metamorphosis remains one of the most unsettling works in modern literature, not because of what happens, but because of how quietly it happens. Kafka offers no explanations, no comfort, and no moral resolution. Instead, he presents a world where identity, value, and belonging are fragile and conditional. If you've stayed through all 20 absurd facts, you've confronted the strange, uncomfortable heart of Kafka's vision. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of literature's most unsettling masterpieces, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more explorations into the absurd corners of classic literature and the human condition.